Alright, compared to last year, I'm way behind. So, I pulled out all my, I don't know what you want to call these, chasing eaves? I don't know. Got them all, and surprisingly, only about 3 strands are to the point where I can't fix them. So I'm going to have to take a couple of these apart and rewrap the sections. And if you don't know, these are actually going on the eaves. We've got 8 channels, so we've got 8 channels here that go back and forth, then 8 up, the little sections 2 and 6, and then 8 this way, so it's able to kind of dance to the music. So this is what I'm working on today. I'll get that up, then I'm going to start getting some other stuff out of the attic, and hopefully make a big dent in what I need to do today. Alright, so I went ahead and replaced the lights on one of these sections. Now if you're rebuilding jumping arches or anything that's going to go back and forth, in this case is my eaves, this is one of the best ways to use this method. Now I don't claim to be the inventor of this method, but I've heard it's being called the sleeve method. By wrapping each individual section, you see you've got 2 pieces of PVC here, but this is one of the biggest advantages of using this method versus just wrapping it all on one piece. When you have a section that goes out, you can easily just slide off the sleeves, rewrap that section, put them all back in place. So go check out there's some earlier videos on how to. I made these last year, and they seem to work well, and definitely I'm liking the fact that I did it this year, because I just went ahead and redid this. Took me about 10 minutes and probably saved me a few hours if I had to do it the other way. So, alright, got all the eave work up. Regardless of whether you do, whether I would be doing a show or not, putting this piping up was so much easier than actually stringing the lights like I used to do before I did the show. I actually seen a video online where they would actually attach the lights just to a piece of PVC and basically tack the PVC up like this. They'd put the little broom handle, the old-fashioned broom handle metal clips, and they'd just snap it in. They'd have the lights up in just a matter of minutes. So that might be something to keep in mind if you're not doing a show. Just to make your life a little easier. These were easy to store also, throughout the year, and by doing that, it saved me quite a bit of time. So that's up. I'm working on wrapping this pole. It's got to be 4 channels red. So this is green now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 channels green, red, and white. So I'm working on doing that right now. I'm working on the green. I don't know if I've showed you guys the inside of one of these Light-A-Rama boxes, but I just wanted to give you a quick peek. I'm going to go ahead and install this for my wreath. I'm using all 16 channels on one wreath this year, but brought it out. I like to open it up to make sure there's nothing obviously wrong. I do build these from scratch to save a little bit of money. If you can read a schematic, it's really not that difficult. It does take a couple hours to do, and you have to have a soldering gun, a steady hand, and the attention to detail, but you can get it done, and that's what I do. But I just pulled this out, figured I'd take a quick peek at it. Now when you're installing these, you keep in mind that this box that it comes with does not have a rubber seal, even though it is water resistant. I don't believe that I would keep it in direct rain or somewhere it's going to get constant water to it. I did have a box go out on me last year. I was able to fix it, but it was due to moisture getting into it, so be careful. I like to keep the boxes this year. There's one up here underneath the eave. There's got to be one back here on this wall underneath the eave. I'm going to have one out here on the tower, which I will be covering up with a bag, but I do mount it to the tower. And then I'm going to have another one just tucked up underneath this eave that's going to run the stuff that goes on the roof, the eave and the roof itself. So if you can prevent it, keep them out of the rain. It's just my little bit of information. I'd like to actually keep them all in the garage, but that means I'd have to run a lot more extension cords. So maybe eventually, but not anytime soon. Okay, I've got this box mounted up here, and the cords are going to be running up and over onto the roof to try to hide them. My little bit of advice is always leave a drip loop, which basically means you don't want this to come directly in here. You always want it to go down and then come back up. This way when water runs down the line, it drips before it gets into the box. So if I were going to, all these plugs here are going to be going down, but if I were to, have this box up at an angle or anything, I would always want to keep a loop, a drip loop. Same thing goes with my Ethernet cord that plugs into here, and anything else. And this does have a clip on it. It doesn't have a rubber seal, but it does have a clip on it and a screw to tighten it down. So once I get everything done, tested, I will be tightening it down, and it won't be in the box for the rest of the season unless I have a problem. So always leave the drip loop. Well, you haven't seen me yet, but I figured I'd show myself. You can see my wreath behind me. It's a pretty big wreath. Now it doesn't look like it's quite centered, but that's where the fine tuning will come into place. I'm gonna try to pull some more stuff out of the attic and put some more stuff up. I'm actually getting some work done today, which is good. I'm impressed with myself. My next project is going to be outlining the windows with red, white, and green, 3 different strands. I'm using the C9 bulbs, but I've got 2 things to tell you. First of all, when you're putting up lights, be smart about it. And what I mean by that, there's only too many times where I, long time ago, would put up lights without even thinking where my plug would be, where I have to go, things like that. So in this case, I'm going to be doing this window, possibly the door, and I'd like to do the garage as well. Now, where I'm plugging this in is going to be right here. So I need my mail-ins to be here, but I don't want to start here with my mail-in and go this way and then be left with short a little bit, or be left with a bunch of extra cord that I have to roll up over here. So what I mean by being smart is just to think, okay, what's the best way to do this? In this case, I'm going to start with my female end over here, and I'm going to wrap this window. I'm going to bring the cord up and wrap this window. If I'm left with a bunch here, then that actually helps me, because then I don't need an extra extension cord to plug it in. Don't know if I will be or not, but if I'm going to have any extra, I want it to be here so I can avoid having an extension cord. Same thing with there. I'm going to start with the female end, and I'm going to go up and around, and then I'm going to get the cord over here to where I need to, and hopefully use that as an extension cord. Now the same concept goes when you're running your eaves. I used to do a lot of just basic, icicle lights, whatever. Keep in mind how many strands you can plug in before you start blowing fuses, and to make that determination where you get a plug. If the plug is here, but 3 cords won't run all the way over here, you might have to bring an extension cord up to like this eave. So always start with your female end, where you want to end, and come this way until you get to 3, and boom, there's where your extension cord needs to be. Alright, so it'll save you a lot of frustration, and you'll find that you'll use less Christmas lights and be able to utilize the cord that's already on the strand versus having to waste your money and time and get frustrated with your lights. Now I haven't done it before, but I'm going to be fastening these to the house with hot glue. Now I heard that that's a good way to fasten Christmas lights to concrete or stucco, or I'm sure anything, but haven't done it before. I got my hot glue gun out here, and I'm going to hot glue the bulb sockets to look at a frog, to the house. This way they're nice and straight and even. I used to use rope and try to tie it with these storm shutter bolts and things, and when I heard about hot glue, I was like, oh, perfect, I'll just do it that way. So now in this case, as you can see, you can't see the bottom of the window, so I'm not going to go across the bottom. I'm just going to do female up over to here. I'm going to run around the ground, and I'm going to go up here to the middle. Actually, I'm going to go all the way over to this one here. Then I'm going to come back, go down, up, over, and down, and that's how I'm going to run these 2 windows. Again, I'm not going to be concerned with even putting bulbs in the C9 sockets down at the bottom, because you're not going to see it through the bushes. It is the next day, in the afternoon. Haven't done anything since last night. Had softball, and then this morning, I had to go to Walmart to get some supplies, and then had baseball for my son. But this hot glue seems to be working actually really good, and it's going to make all the bulbs seem very uniform. So I'm really liking it. It sticks. Just make sure it's set, a couple seconds, depending on how cold it is outside, before you let it go, because if you let it go too soon, it'll come off. But really good option. Really working great. Well, the hot glue and the C7 bulb seem to work really well to outline the house. The good thing about the hot glue is when it's glued, it's actually pretty steady. But I tried to pull one of these off after it's set, and when it pops off, it pops up. It doesn't leave any mark on the house. So I'm actually really impressed with the idea. It took a little longer to put it up than it traditionally would, but as you can see, they're all spaced out perfectly. They're all facing the same way, seems to look really good. So I really like this idea. Now I was going to do around the garage too, but I don't think I have, without having to buy more C9 bulbs, I don't have enough of the right color. I was going to do red, white, and green, and I don't have enough for all that to do around there. So I'm going to use my spotlights over the garage door just to light those up, sync them with these channels. So as you can see, I have a huge bucket of bulbs, and you might be wondering why. Over the time, I've collected a bunch of C9s and C7s. These are all C7 bulbs, but when I store them, before, I used to just roll them up like this with the bulbs in place. And I found that when I pulled them out the next year or something, when trying to untangle them with the bulbs in there, they would break. These bigger bulbs are easier to break, especially the C9s. But so what I did is I took the time and I took out each bulb and stored them in a bucket separately, and then rolled up all the cords by themselves. Twofold saves the bulbs where they don't break, and it enables me to customize and only have the bulbs that I want up and what color I want. So it takes a little longer, but I'm able to kind of customize my installation a little bit better. So this is what I do. You might want to think about doing it if it works for you, if you have any of these C7s or C9 bulbs. But I kind of like doing that. It takes a little extra time, but it works out in the long run. Alright, I didn't realize that Lighter Ramen had this ability until the second year I had it, and I kind of stumbled upon it on accident, but I wanted to share it with you just in case you didn't know. When it comes to setting up your boxes, especially hooking up all the wires and understanding where all your extension cords go plugged into what channel, and instead of writing them all down, if you come up here to Tools, and then you come down to Channel Property Grid, you can see kind of a list of, okay, tree horizontal 1, regular unit 1 or box 1, circuit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it kind of lines it up. Now you have an option to print, and basically that's what I've done right here. This way I can have this with me at all times, and it basically, kind of gives me a printout of what channel, what the name and the description is, what circuit, what unit each one is on. Let me start to focus. Not only will this help when it comes to installing your lights, knowing which way you need your cords to run, where you're going to put your boxes, but when you're hooking them up, definitely going to need this handy. The first year I just wrote it down, and took me a little while writing it all down, but I found out you could print it. So if you don't know that, now you know. So I got my list here, and I'm outside, and I've got, channel 1, box 1, channel 1 basically through 16, with an extra channel off box 2. Box 2, channel 14 is going to be my tree. So entire unit box 1 will be on the tree, on the tower. I will have an extra extension cord running from the tower to box 2, which is going to be right here on the wall, kind of tucked away. Because box 2 includes not only the 9th channel and the horizontal rings, but also the pillars. Pillar red, 1, 2, 3, 4, white, 1, 2, 3, 4, green, 1, 2, 3, 4, and windows, red, white, and green. So those 16 channels will be fed. So here's my pillar, and then my channel, my red, white, and green windows. Now box 3 is for the roof and the eave. 8 channels up on the roof, which is my piano keyboard, which I haven't installed yet, up here. And then the eave, which is 8 channels, so that's 16 channels. So all my wires for that will be run to a box that I like to put right up here. Actually, there's the holes. I don't know if you can see it, but there's the holes where I installed it last year. Boom, boom, boom. All right, and then box 4, which is the wreath. All 16 channels are the wreath. Is already installed right there, and I put it up there obviously because this way I probably won't have to use any extension cords. All the leads on the cable, on the wires, the lights themselves will be long enough to plug right in. So there's where my 4 boxes are going. I will have to run some extension cords from that box over here to the spotlights, and you know, when I start putting some things in the yard, and I might get some red, white, and green lights to go in the bushes to match the windows, things like that. So, all right, well, we're at Tom's place. You can't see much, but we're fixing some of his lights, helping him out with his display. His lights are coming on tomorrow. Mine won't be on probably for another week or so, so I figured I'd give him a hand. Let me see if I can get the light turned on here. That's a little better, I guess. But he's got his reindeer out, his signs out. Tomorrow we'll be here. They have a little lighting ceremony, so tomorrow we'll be here to see this show up and running. So I'll let you know.